And welcome to This Is Now. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said more U.S. bombers are arriving in the Middle East. Meanwhile, the Senate is set to vote on a key resolution over congressional approval for war. Aaron Navarro reports from Capitol Hill.
The Defense Department released video of the moment it says a U.S. submarine sank an Iranian warship in the Indian Ocean as the U.S. intensifies its military campaign against Tehran.
American forces have struck more than 2,000 targets, destroying hundreds and hundreds of ballistic missiles, launchers, and drones.
At a Pentagon briefing Wednesday, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said the U.S. and Israeli air forces will soon have complete control of Iranian airspace.
It means we will fly all day, all night, day and night, finding, fixing, and finishing the missiles and defense industrial base of the Iranian military, finding and fixing their leaders and their military leaders.
Secretary Hegseth said the U.S. military is just getting started with more bombers on the way. The comments come amid an effort by some lawmakers to rein in the Trump administration from using any more force against Iran.
Taking America to war in Iran was done by President Trump without meaningfully consulting the American people or Congress.
The Senate is set to vote Wednesday on the War Powers resolution. It is expected to fail in the Republican-controlled chamber.
You don't have to authorize military operations. They can go on as long as the president wants them to go on until you cut off funding.
The Pentagon also released photos of 4 of the 6 service members killed in an Iranian strike on a U.S. operations center in Kuwait.
To the families of our fallen, we grieve with you today.
And the White House says it is chartering flights to help evacuate Americans stranded in the region. Aaron Navarro, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Back here at home, new at noon, rescue crews airlifted a woman off of the Lanai pillbox trail this morning. HFD responded to the area around 8:30 after receiving calls of an injured hiker. A woman in her 30s hurt her ankle and reportedly could not continue on her own. Crews were able to reach her by foot before Air One took her off the trail and turned her over to the care of EMS. On Hawaii Island, a man has died after apparently falling into a crater at Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. The Park Service says he was in a closed area on the caldera's east side. Take a look. That red circle marks the area where the body of a 33-year-old Hawaii Island man was recovered Friday morning. Kilauea was not erupting at the time. Meantime, the USGS says the next eruptive episode is expected sometime next week. The state recently saw its first conviction for habitually driving without a license under newly enhanced penalties. The law was created in response to the increasing traffic fatalities across the state, including the death of Sarah Yara 3 years ago. The Attorney General's office says Michael Johnson was prosecuted under the new law because of his 17 prior convictions. Court records show he eventually pleaded guilty to the Class C felony charges. He was sentenced to 4 years probation in November and will not be allowed to drive for 5 years. No additional jail time was given, but he was granted credit for time served. A man accused of slashing a police officer's throat in Waikiki is now charged with attempted murder. And as our A'ali'i Duklo reports, the man's heartbroken mother says her son has been struggling with mental health his entire life.
A quiet afternoon here at the Queen Kapi'olani Hotel turned into a scene of violence Saturday afternoon, and the chaos soon ended in bloodshed blocks away.
A hotel lobby became a crime scene after 33-year-old Braxton Rabago allegedly assaulted a 34-year-old man, then ran to nearby Pauakalani Avenue, where he allegedly slashed an officer's neck. Rabago's mother, Susan Kosinski, heard the news in Minnesota, where he grew up.
It's the worst thing in the world. If you could imagine that you wake up one day and you have a text that says you need to read this and you see your son is charged.
Kosinski says he's been violent and reckless since he was a young boy. She is certain he's schizophrenic.
He just needs help desperately. I'm like, my son is not ADHD. There's something wrong with my son, and you need to figure out what it is.
She says Rabago struggled in school, ran away from home, sold and used heavy drugs, and committed robberies. After stabbing a man in 2015, he spent 7 years in prison. Kosinski is actually relieved her son is back behind bars because she says confinement helped him the first time.
It's because he was thriving in prison and he had structure and he didn't have access to drugs.
I have had many clients over the years that have used the phrase, "prison saved my life."
Licensed mental health counselor Joseph Hakim says with mental health facilities strained, prison is sometimes the best or only option for some. That's partly because medication for mental disorders is mandatory.
They find that their mental health and physical health has improved with medication. And once they get out, they work hard to avoid going back to that pattern of behavior.
Kosinski is glad to hear both victims in the Waikiki attack are okay, and she's apologizing to those her son has wronged.
The people he stole and robbed from, the people he victimized, there's no excuse for what has happened to them.
Rabago pleaded not guilty to attempted murder and is being held on $500,000 bail, with a court date set for Thursday.
For a list of mental health resources, head to our website, hawaiinewsnow.com. Aali'i Duklo, Hawaii News Now.
Time now for our first alert weather forecast. Let's take you live outside to our tower cam. Pretty nice out there today. Lots of sunshine. Let's take a look at that. Temperature at the airport's around 83 degrees. We're starting to see wind shift to be a little bit more easterly, even east-southeasterly out there, around 14 miles per hour at the airport. Humidity right around 56%. Trade winds still the dominant wind pattern out there. That's going to be the case throughout today. A little bit gusty this afternoon. 22 mile per hour sustained winds over in Kahului. And as we're going forward into this weekend, we're expecting the winds to get much weaker. Just going into Thursday, this is tomorrow morning around 7 a.m. Between 10 to 15 miles per hour out of the east and southeast for Thursday afternoon, and getting even weaker going into Friday. I'll give you a full breakdown of this coming up.
Thank you, Drew. Governor Josh Green says he has not spoken with Lieutenant Governor Sylvia Luke about the investigation into her campaign finances. The governor told HNN Spotlight Now that he's maintaining neutrality and pushing the Attorney General to finish her probe of the matter in the next 3 weeks. Luke said last month that she made an honest mistake when she failed to report campaign donations from a man tied to a bribery investigation.
I just don't want to be tied up in this thing. I want her to go through the process, to sort it out whichever way with the Attorney General, and then people get full trust that the governor did not influence anything. So honest to goodness, no conversation. This thing's going to get sorted, and then the people are going to get to make their decision about who should win the nomination for lieutenant governor, whether or not they want me on the ballot again, and then we go forward.
The governor also rejected calls for a new investigator, saying an independent division in the AG's department already exists, and moving the case would only cause delays. Well, pay raises and a recruitment push are part of a new budget proposal from Honolulu's mayor. Our Raquel Kahlo has the numbers.
If you've ever wondered where your tax dollars actually go, the mayor just laid out his plan for the next year, and it tells us exactly what he thinks Honolulu needs most.
We're running at full throttle. This is just being smarter about the reality of the money and how it works in the city.
The proposed budget for next year would spend a little more than $5 billion for construction and operation. That's about $130 million lower than this year, which the mayor's team considers a big accomplishment.
We just don't know. There are a lot of uncertainties going forward, and people are concerned about it.
Like the impact of the new war in the Middle East, federal budget cuts, and doubts about how the economy will affect city property taxes, which they predict will be flat this year. The main tactic to balance the budget is to take money that was set aside for thousands of vacant city jobs. But that doesn't mean the city is slowing hiring.
We are recruiting aggressively that way. There just isn't the job market for it. So you're going to say, we got 10 openings, you only filled 2, and you've done that 3 years in a row. You're going to sit there and you want to be realistic about that.
We took a reduction in salaries and benefits of about $50 million, close to $50 million, and that helped to balance things out.
That despite the fact that the cost of employee wages and benefits is skyrocketing, about $800 million next year, 22% the budget. Housing continues to be a major focus, with $100 million for affordable housing mixed-use development. This budget heavily leans into transportation and public safety, with $674.1 million going towards police, fire, EMS, and ocean safety operations, and $490 million focusing on the transit system, including the rail operation. The budget will now face dozens of hearings from the City Council before it takes effect in July. Raquel Kahlo for Hawaii News Now.
Affordable homes are coming to Lanai with $17 million in startup funding from the county. And as our Chelsea Davis reports, elected officials and residents are eagerly awaiting construction.
years ago.
Kaia'ulu o Lanai is the island's first for-sale affordable housing project in more than 35 years, with monthly payments ranging from about $700 for a one-bedroom unit to less than $3,000 for a four-bedroom unit, with utilities included. Longtime island resident Alberta DeJetley says residents desperately need this.
My plantation house was built in 1927, so it's bordering on 100 years now. And the houses were affordable, but now the houses are so expensive. For someone who works in the hotel industry, there's no way that you can afford a $3,000 or $4,000 mortgage.
The new neighborhood at the bottom of 5th Street will include 72 rent-to-own units. Tenants will be allowed to pay rent for up to 15 years before buying their home at a fixed, affordable price. And it's all reserved for household earnings from 30 to 80% of the area's median income.
Will help lots of people to be able to stay on Lanai, to be able to work on Lanai, and to be able to thrive on Lanai and their generations that come after them. And this is just the beginning. This project is beautiful. There'll be a community center. There'll be obviously parking available for that. And again, the kupuna housing piece is really, really significant. So it'll be beautiful.
Pushing it across the finish line is a personal goal for area council member Gabe Johnson.
For me, Chelsea, to be honest with you, I was living in Section 8 housing, low-income housing before I got into office, and just having this need that the community I saw with my own two eyes, I really pushed for the affordable housing to happen on Lanai. So that was a big driver in my motivation.
Johnson says they hope to break ground this year.
County likes shovel-ready projects, and we're Lanai. We don't even have a shovel.
So obviously, it's a major milestone for the rural, tight-knit community of about 3,300 residents. Chelsea Davis, Hawaii News Now.
Coming up, the state and UH launch a new survey focusing on quality of life for Hawaii residents, how you can participate. And confusion over Hawaii's excise tax leads to overcharges on medical bills. The H&N Investigates report straight ahead. Well, new at noon, a chance for Hawaii residents to discuss their experience of living in the state and help lawmakers craft meaningful solutions. The University of Hawaii and State Office of Wellness and Resilience launched its Quality of Life survey this morning. It's an online anonymous survey that allows residents to offer feedback on a number of topics, including health, housing, transportation, work, and education. This is the second survey of its kind. The last one in 2024 garnered responses from more than 8,000 residents.
We offer opportunities to not only identify problems, but also identify solutions to those issues. Therefore, we can take that information and craft better legislation, better services, better communities for everyone.
The survey takes about 10 to 20 minutes to complete and will be open through the end of March. We'll have a link up on our website, hawaiinewsnow.com. Are you being overcharged? A warning from medical experts that you should take a closer look at your medical bills. H&N Investigates' Daryl Huff explains.
When you get to be my age, you get a lot of medical bills, and it really does pay to read them. Like this bill from my physical therapy company, which overcharged me more than $100 because it miscalculated the Hawaii excise tax. And that could happen to anybody.
Is the excise tax one of the reasons doctor bills tend to be confusing?
Yes. It's an extra charge that other states don't have.
Dr. Kelly Withy is a medical school professor who advises doctors how to charge Hawaii's excise tax. She tells people don't rush to pay the doctor after a visit.
I always tell whoever's trying to charge me the full amount, I say, I'm going to see how much my insurance pays first, because that's the number that I'm going to have to pay what's left.
Most medical providers set prices for their services, but usually the insurance company pays them much less. The amount of excise tax is based on how much the doctor gets from the insurance company and the patient, not the price the doctor wanted to charge.
How confusing and difficult is that? And what kind of steps do doctors have to go through to make sure that it's properly charged?
This is impossible for a doctor's office to be able to solve that.
Here's another bill we got from an astute viewer who figured out he was way overcharged for taxes. Here's how he figured it out and how you can too. The bill is for an emergency room exam and EKG. The provider price totals a little over $1,400. On this bill, that's multiplied by 4.71%. That's Oahu's 4.5% excise tax plus a little extra to cover tax on the tax. The bill says the patient owes $67.47 in sales taxes, but that computation is wrong. Remember, the excise tax is only supposed to be charged on what the provider is actually paid, in this case, just over $400 from the insurance company. When you apply the tax to that amount, the accurate tax bill to the patient would be $19.92. That means the patient was overcharged by more than $47. It took the patients and the doctor's office 3 months to figure out the correct amount.
Well, a doctor's office has no idea what the insurance company is going to pay them or not pay them until they just get this a month later, some kind of statement in the mail that goes into our billing systems and our billing companies.
Most Hawaii providers do charge the tax properly, but it can still be confusing because the tax calculation can bring a second bill months later for just a couple of dollars.
We pay through the nose for the billing systems and companies, and we have so many $2 and $3 bills because that's what's left over, but you have to pay $1.50 for every letter that goes out to the patient.
And one more confusing point, most big providers like hospitals are nonprofit and don't have to pay the tax at all, so the hassle falls hardest on the independent doctors.
You know, it almost seems like it's just another push to hurt the private practice communities as we are competing against the tall timbers.
If you suspect you've been overcharged, just call the provider or the billing company. In our cases, they were very apologetic and willing to waive the charge or give a refund. If they didn't, they could get in trouble with the state tax department. Reporting for H&N Investigates, Daryl Huff, Hawaii News Now.
And stick around. Coming up after the break, we've got your full first alert weather forecast. Breezy winds persist today, but get lighter this weekend. The details coming up.
Coming up today at 12:30 p.m., it's Covering the Cost with me, Annalisa Burgos. We're going to be talking about why our energy bills are so high with some of the energy experts out there. We're going to talk about all of that and more. Catch Covering the Cost on the H&N streaming app, available on Roku, Apple TV, or Amazon Fire.
weather with Drew Davis.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. Again, breezy trade winds out there today. We're expecting lighter winds as we're going into this weekend. Here's a quick look at what we have in our first alert weather headlines. Again, breezy winds out there, a few morning showers, mostly light and focused over windward areas, and that's going to continue into tomorrow morning as well. And a couple of northwest pulses on our way, a little bit of a boost for north and west facing shores. Let's take a look at our island by island forecast. Over on Kauai, we've got scattered showers, mostly cloudy conditions, easterlies 5 to 10 miles per hour. And now moving down to Oahu, 82 for a high in town tomorrow, 80 over in Hawaii Kai, a few clouds and some showers over the windward side of the island. Maui County, mostly sunny out there, east-northeasterlies 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting closer to 20. You can see over on Maui, 83 in Kahului, 83 in Kihei out there. Kailua Kona right around 83 as well, mostly sunny with some southwesterlies in the afternoon. 80 degrees in Hilo, isolated showers and partly sunny conditions. The northern portions of Hawaii Island will be seeing southeasterlies, east-southeasterlies around 5 to 10 miles per hour is what I have in my forecast right now. We do have a little bit of alert, a small craft advisory alert up across the eastern half of the state because of the breezy winds causing it to be a little bit choppy out there. So mariners, just take warning if you're on a smaller craft until 6 a.m. on Thursday. Easterly winds getting up to 25 knots. And as we're going forward in our first alert windcast, you'll notice winds getting much weaker going into Thursday and Friday, really falling apart and getting even southeasterly going into Friday and Saturday. We could potentially be seeing another front moving our way as we go into next week. Models yesterday were bringing some rainfall closer to us Tuesday into Wednesday, but in the meantime, we've got just typical windward and Mauka showers out there with this trade wind pattern. Maybe a little bit of moisture hanging around Kauai early Friday morning and a little bit of cloud cover over the western half of the state. Long range models are hinting at that chance for rainfall next week. Now our surf and shoreline forecast, north and west facing shores are dropping. We do have a little bit of a boost that's going to be moving in this weekend. This forecast again is for Wednesday afternoon. South facing shores around 1 to 3, east facing shores right around 4 to 6. Now our 7-day forecast, let's just take a look. Pretty nice out there. Wednesday and Thursday, sunny and breezy, 82 degrees on Wednesday, Thursday. A little bit more cloud cover as we're going into your Friday out there, and trade winds build in a little bit back into this weekend, but again, they're getting weaker Thursday into Friday. Could get even weaker going into Monday and Tuesday. And stick around. We've got the Drew Point coming up later today. We'll give you a full breakdown of the overall weather pattern. I'll break down what's going on and answer any questions you might have. All right, well, the UC Santa Barbara baseball team had a wild game and it had nothing to do with the player.
The game was delayed for an unusual reason. In the top of the fourth against the Loyola Marymount, a Pelican flew into the safety net behind home plate. Gauchos head coach Andrew Checkitz tried to shake it loose, but to no avail. Huge bird, I gotta say. A couple of workers and a fan took charge and freed the Pelican's foot from the netting. LMU did not score another run after the Pelican arrived. An 8th straight win for the Gauchos, who may have a new mascot. And I also guess this adds new meaning to the infield fly rule.
Oh, there you go, Mark. You know, it's always fun when like obviously I'm glad the Pelican is okay, but you know, when like a squirrel runs on the field and it becomes like a mascot for the team that year, or like a bird lands on the football field. I've seen that happen a couple of times.
Right, it makes it more fun, right?
Yeah.
A game within the game.
Yeah. All right, glad the Pelican's okay. Here's a look at our 7-day forecast. You can see Wednesday, Thursday, slightly weaker trades going into Thursday, maybe getting to southeasterly, but we'll see trade winds building back in a little bit going into this weekend. Again, we're expecting another chance for rainfall. Long-range models hinting at a front coming in Monday into Tuesday. Still watching that pretty closely. Let's take you live outside to our tower cam. Pretty nice out there today. A little bit of cloud cover as you're taking a look towards the west side of Oahu. And more news coming up. The Drew Point at 1:30. Make sure to tune in.
Love it. Thank you so much, Drew. Tune in.